It's time for Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting is way easier from outside of the elevated platform. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, of course, the man at the Metamoris 3, which is like being on the moon, except it's cooler and way more badass. Raph Esparza. Raph, how are you doing this evening? How was Metamoris 3? Tell me everything. Tell me all that you can think of about the details of you being there from start to finish. Tell me about the after party. Tell me about maybe getting into a breakdance fighting with a black belt. Whatever happened, just tell me. Go.
It was cool.
There, shot the I fucking jump through this microphone and tackle you. It was cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Was it the best thing you've ever seen? Did they have, when they measured you for your personal gi that comes with the Metamoris press credential, did you choose like an off gray, or what color did you go with?
Well, they handed me one, and I was like, this is clearly a trash kimono. Please hand me something with a little more dignity. So I took only 2 free gis, but I digress. No, they didn't give us any of that shit. I don't know what you're talking. It was a great experience. There's a lot to talk about, obviously, from it. So I was excited to like compile all of this information and then come back and tell you all of the crazy that we endured.
Rap, what should our listeners do if they're not interested in Metamoris? If they're like, Metamoris isn't my thing. What would you recommend?
Okay. Maybe if you enjoy our excitement voices, then you will enjoy this episode.
Then you'll be fine.
If you are not, yes. If you are not a huge jiu-jitsu fan, this one might be a stretch. So we want to tell you guys up front. But, come for the jiu-jitsu, stay for the Raph and Kevin.
I'll make a lot of... what should I make a lot of references for that community, do you think, Raph? What's a good metaphorical genre for me to include everyone?
I don't know. That's a good question.
This is like Raph's most hated game. He's like, you want me to help you commit to something that's going to drive me insane for 74 to 77 minutes. That's what you... maybe I could just make a lot of... Hey, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie trailer just came out and it looks awful. So I could make a lot of comparisons to Teenage
It doesn't look awful?
Turtles. It doesn't look great. It's a little high action.
I actually saw it.
It looks a little...
Do you not understand
Avatar-y?
that when you read those things that say Michael Bay is producing it, that should be enough for you to understand exactly what you're getting into?
Well, you knew it was Michael Bay because it's post-apocalyptic in some ways. It's not just these random martial artists fighting crime. It's now a whole mission thing. So
we were just kind of is Optimus Prime showing up? What's happening?
I bet, Mark Wahlberg's going to come firing some sort of weaponry. And
hey,
this is the type of banter...
I don't know if you know this, but we found a Transformer.
If you don't maybe like jiu-jitsu, you should listen purely to hear Raph and I talk about it. If you do like jiu-jitsu and if you are interested in Metamoris, if you're a mixed martial artist, this is going to be a fun podcast.
Should really be into
We're going to be really flying on all cylinders. Raph is parading around strangers all podcasts. He's bringing in random people no one's ever heard
maybe
of.
By the end of it, we're going to go ahead and talk about finding very different Transformers by the end of it. Is that what we're doing, Kevin?
Drifting a little. Yes, Mark. That's what we're doing with your impeccable.
I'm just very confused. That's exactly what is happening.
Yeah, if I were a little bit more rigid and could do accents, I'd do Stewie. No, Seth MacFarlane. Fuck, Teddy. That's the name of it. Doesn't matter. The podcast is going to go in great directions because it's going to be about jiu-jitsu.
Not Ted, just Teddy. This is the whole point of the fucking play on words. It's
his
fine.
Nickname, I guess. Oh, Raph, what are we going to do? Honestly, anything that you need to inside scoop us with before we start talking Metamoris?
All right, let me go ahead and start with this. I'm going to put this out there right now because you did allude to this. The after party was fun. We're going to go talk about everything else first, but I want to address something right up top.
How fun was the after? Okay. Address what you need to address.
was very fine. Kevin alluded to the fact that there was a black belt that I had some dance beef with. I would just like to put this out there on the record.
Record. It has begun. We record. There, it's recorded.
Here we go. Uh, I know you think that you did a great job on the Metamoris commentary. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. But if it was anything like your dance moves, Jeff Glover, you've got a lot to fear in your life. And I'm putting you out.
No way,
Fucking
Raph.
Front Street.
No
If you
way.
dare try to have a dance battle with me again, Jeff Glover, no one will be spared. I hope you
No
hear that.
one.
I hope.
You're saying he's
I hope
not
you're ready
safe
for it.
and no one he knows is safe. That's what you're
right.
saying.
His whole family, his friends, people he just walks up to on the streets, no one is safe.
Everyone is at risk if he makes the mistake of what was his strength move, Raph? What was his strength move? What did he go to?
You know, his go-to move was like
Is
a
he a hand
sway.
in the pocket type of guy? Okay.
No, it wasn't even, no. He was just a sway to the bottom. Here's the mistake he made. And everybody's kind of dancing and having a good time. And I'm actually commenting. I'm like, dude, the great thing about walking into a jiu-jitsu after party is everybody can kind of move.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
everybody has the ability to kind of dance because of all of the connections that you have in the world of jiu-jitsu of all your warm-up shit is actually kind of danceable. Like a hip escape could actually be a great dance move. And he starts dancing, and then he looks at me, and he, without even believing, he just goes, "Can you move?" And I go, I can. I don't know that I need to prove myself. He grabs the beer out of my hands.
No way.
And I was like,
Calls you out.
yeah, like he busted a move first. He does some sort of little dance that I'm kind of like, that's fine and all. I don't even put it in more than 10% in my effort, but you know what? It's way more polished. It's way more technical than Jeff Glover's dance will ever be. And I was a little disappointed because you know what? This is a guy who's done a whole bunch of routines on a bounce ball. He's basically
Yeah. Did someone
ball.
throw him one?
I wish.
It just somebody just immediately, like all of a sudden Lovato pops up and just inflates his shit out of the biggest bounce ball.
I was waiting for a bounce ball to make its way into there. So when he did that, I did a little some. Nothing too crazy.
He did a fantastic job commentary.
But the thing is, that's great. He did a terrible job dancing.
Oh no.
No, I mean, you know, the thing is, he's got moves that are nice if you're into an amateur kind of angle, but
he's got great, like, American Idol dancing. They're there for their voices. You know what I mean?
and the thing is like, I'm looking at him and I'm like, dude, I'm not even giving you my A game. Like, this is just kind of just to put you down and let you know I can move. But this wasn't even a real dance battle. By the end of it, let's just say when I concluded my kind of very soft pop and lock routine, if you would,
Yeah.
I just basically got my beer and got a look from him that was like, okay.
Let's just set this down and walk away.
No, that was the end of it.
like
So I mean, you know,
professionals.
who knows what will happen next?
He
where we
didn't
go
want
from-
anything to do with your moves, is what you're saying. You're saying you verbally
Well-
tapped Jeff Glover on the dance floor.
Let's put it this way. He came right back at me again, but at this point I just kind of give him a look that's like, you're just embarrassing yourself now, man.
You're not ready.
Come on. But I appreciate his efforts, and it was a good time. But you know, it's a dangerous thing to try and challenge me on the dance floor. So keep that open in your mind, please, Jeff
Yeah,
Glover.
Esparza's got moves, and you heard it here. If you all want a rematch as bad as I do, Jeff Glover's right out there in San Diego. We can get him up. You guys can do a little move, hit a discotheque near you, or put it on roller skates like the real Athenians. That's my vote. I fucking hate you, by the way. I'm so mad at you. That's the coolest. You
Why?
gotta do a dance fight with Jeff Glover.
The thing is, it's like it was just
You
a
were
dance
right there.
battle. A dance fight requires you to be equally matched against somebody who could actually beat you.
Oh, I love how you're
just,
turning the shit talking up to a 10. I love
The thing is, I think
This
he
is my
is capable
favorite
of
rap.
running his mouth. So I don't know. I just want to hear what he has to say.
I agree wholeheartedly, and frankly, and I would like to issue this to Jeff Glover if he would like the time to come on the show and speak his side, because I think I speak for everyone when I say Raph can be a little hyperbolic about how eccentrically perfectly he does things. So it would be nice to hear Jeff Glover's side. Gauntlet laid. Raph, anything else you'd like to talk about?
Let's put it this
The
way, Kevin. When have
Metamoris.
I ever been prone to hyperbole about that? I'm just saying.
You
I mean,
can
I would love to get the
dance. I
Metamoris.
will
I just
warn
want
the
you to be right
audience.
about the way you
The
make your
man's got
accusation.
moves.
Yeah, just saying.
I'm trying to promote a show here, Raph. I'm trying to build it on both sides. I can't just side with you and then invite somebody on to be trapped. I'm not
Yes, you can.
Barbara Geraldo. Like, I
If
gotta
you were
vary it up a
fucking
little bit.
a good fucking co-host, ride or die
I'm
partner.
not. I thought we were also super clear on that.
That's
I've
true.
never shot for great. I shot for mediocre and adequate on a good day. I thought the card was fantastic, and I'm stoked to talk Metamoris. I thought from start to finish it was a really exciting, really highly technical, impressive differential in the way the fighters were fighting.
Mm. I was excited. It was different than last year. If I could describe to you what it was kind of like, the best way to really capture your attention. It was a smaller venue. It wasn't at the UCLA center that they had last year, which was massive and big, and there was incline seating, and it was
Yeah,
crazy, or decline
it looked
seating, if you would.
huge.
This was interesting because I felt like I was going to a DJ tent at Coachella. It's a
Because there was
great
ecstasy and some
automotive.
kid
No,
humping the
not even
air on
that.
shrooms
Although
next to
that
you.
doesn't
Oh,
hurt
okay.
the metaphor. But there was just a weird moment where you're walking by cars, like really, really cool looking cars that are super fucking expensive that you can never own, and you're terrified that you're gonna scratch or do anything. And then all of a sudden they go to our sports center, and I go, okay, cool. Where's your sports arena? And then you see a giant tent, and you go, okay, this is different. And the only thing that bugged me a little bit was just the level seating, because you're looking at the level seating and you go, shit, I really wish there was a little bit of incline so you could see everybody a little bit better. But that I think is kind of where the major complaints end.
Yeah, I can't imagine. At least from there was a slight moment of fear when we thought the live stream wasn't working because it wasn't working.
Man, oh my God, when you texted me that, that's so
You
sad
should
because
have
I'm
seen
pushing it.
Twitter. Like Twitter
I
was
heard.
exploding.
I had to turn off my cell phone at times because I have to try and save juice for the entire event. My fucking cell phone battery is shit. But when I'm reporting, I need that as a backup to like tweet out what's happening or to be in contact with people, in case, you know, you lose
Real shit
contact with somebody,
happens.
you need to get in contact, whatever.
Been
Shit,
there.
dude. I saw you send a tweet and a text that was like, Raph, the stream's not working. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do to fix that, Kevin. I wish there was.
I You were gonna fucking FaceTime me into those matches. Like if that stream if that stream hadn't kicked back on, man, that was gonna be crushing. Like the whole jujitsu community was taking a deep breath. We were super nervous.
So what was the pre-show like? Because I didn't see the pre-show at that
I didn't
time.
see the pre-show either.
Oh, because there was no feed. Oops, sorry. We're going to bypass that question then. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the fact that when you walk into Metamoris, the athletes that apparently had a run through to like kind of warm up a little bit. So like Keenan was warming up with Eddie, and all this is happening unbeknownst to us. I saw photos of these later, so I didn't even actually see it. And you wonder why we're holding for a second, but it makes sense. Everybody's there. And afterwards, when you're about to walk in, most of the athletes are kind of accessible to the people as you're making your way into the Metamoris tent, if you would. And you see fans interacting with some of the people, which, if you think about it, they hype these fights up to be so crazy competitive and ridiculous. And then you just see the competitors like, what's up? Yeah, I got to compete in a little while, but how you doing?
Yeah, I mean I'm in my uniform now, but I've got like 20 minutes till my fight. Wait, hold on. What minute are they at? I've got like 13 minutes till my flight. Like, yeah, that would be I didn't know that they were accessible. From our vantage point, they really kept maneuvering the cameras in a way that it was hard to tell which side we were coming from.
Yes.
Like the cameras they were cutting all over the place, and they never quite worked out how to show replays and communicate to the commentary booth that they were showing replays, which was really funny. At one point, Florian was like breaking down a replay, and it wasn't happening. So it was like, well, I'm glad he's breaking down a replay he must be seeing, but the rest of us don't see it. And then it popped up, and Jeff Glover like tries to save it. But overall, they were really good. They were fun.
Yeah,
they were
it was
a blast.
great. I heard great things about them.
Yeah, I'll make some jokes at Jeff Glover's expense only because he got a little. Oh, there were certain moments. You know, it's jiu-jitsu. There's not much to commentate, so it just got a little repetitive. But otherwise, really good, fun.
You mean
really
much like his dance
art.
moves, pretty repetitive?
I guess
mundane.
that's what I'm insinuating.
Weird.
Bump, set, spike. This is the anti-Jeff Glover episode that we're.
Hey, I got no problem with Jeff Glover as a human being or a BJJ competitor. I could see it. Obviously, his BJJ is better than mine, but I'm just saying, like, you can only push up, somebody against the wall for so long when you're talking about their dance. That's what I'm saying.
It's like he shibbed you. That's how you're talking. Like he had one of his boys find you in the yard. It was like, dance now, funny man.
It's just disrespectful. That's all I'm saying.
Raph, your impenetrable dance skills aside, are you ready to start breaking these down match by match? Yes,
sir.
Me too. 3, 2, 3, 2. Stop.
All right, so we thought as a nice way of reviewing Metamoris,
an amazing way. The only way we can fittingly review it. It was Raph's idea.
Correct. So what we decided to do was actually bring on one of our friends of the podcast to help us critique each match. And to start off
mostly
the whole
Raph's
Metamoris card, we actually are bringing on our good friend, Amici, from BJJ Training Journal. How you doing today, man?
All right, man. Doing great. Talking to you guys.
I'm actually just selecting date range and adding tonight's training to my mat tracker.
I love it.
Little mat time for the BJJ Training Journal. Shout out. There it is.
I'd like to say, though, Amici, so I downloaded the app onto my girlfriend's phone, and now she regularly gets updates like, you need to train, and she looks at me and she goes, what's up with this? And I'm like, babe, you need to go train. I don't know what to tell you.
How's that?
The app doesn't lie.
Conditioning, right? For the girlfriend, like, babe. She's going to get up and be like, you know what? I just need to learn the Berimbolo.
Oh, man. You got to add that in 2.0. Like a girlfriend text, like it could send out and communicate. That might be good.
Nice. Like, he didn't mean it. Like that. He is so sorry.
So, Amici, do me a favor. We haven't really talked about this, but what was your perception of our good friend, the announcer? I believe if you were playing at home, and you might be, does anybody remember his name?
I don't remember his name. I remember his group.
It's cool. Dilated Peoples is a great group that had a couple pretty decent songs, but Rocka Matt probably got the job because his name has Matt in it.
Is that really? I thought that was just like something they were doing for the event. That's funny. I didn't know that was like what he goes by.
Well, Kevin, don't you know that you got to rock a Matt?
I know that I have to use the exact same tone while I'm announcing everything. I caught that nice and early. And he calls jiu-jitsu something different.
What do you think he called it?
I thought he coughed, but
yeah, generally I'm pretty good at impersonations, but yeah, I mean, I know he's been training for a long time, but he's probably better on the mat than naming the technique.
That's fine. It's a tough gig
to
be the person who's up there, facilitating the whole telecast, if you would. But when he's up there and he's like, make some noise. I was like, are we seconds away from
No.
Flavor Flav?
Don't make any noise. Like, let's give it up for these two warriors. And it was just like, oh, don't say it again. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry. I have one note here that I wrote in quotation marks that I thought was the funniest thing he said, which was, "It's getting serious in here." And my response was it not serious in here before?
A clown was going to jump out on the mat, start doing cartwheels.
So anyway, we're here to have you talk about the matchup between Zach Maxwell and Sean Roberts. Amici, tell us, how did you think this match was going to start off?
You know what? I think everyone kind of knew that, Zach had the more traditional game, right? And that Sean had the more active attacking guard, right? But, I just think this was a great idea to start this off with the event because both guys wanted it. They wanted it to win and not stall. And it seemed like they really adapted well to the no-point scenario. You know what I mean? They weren't trying to play just for positions. They were both going for it. So, and I guess when they first both initially wanted guard, I thought, oh, no, are they going to go straight to 50-50? But it seems that they went there just because they both wanted guard, not because they wanted the 50-50 as their main game. Obviously because they both have active guards and want those submission opportunities.
Let me ask you this, because they weighed 160 and 175, and it really looked like that's exactly what they weighed. Is it the weight class that helps? Because that's kind of like the perfect smaller guy, quicker jiu-jitsu weight class. Because I agree. I thought it was really high energy in a technical way. How much do you think that has to do with just weight class?
I think it does have to do with weight class for a couple reasons. One, the more mass you have, the more your lungs have to work to fuel that mass, right? So I think that if you're a bigger person, you're just used to moving at a different pace, just because that's your body works, right? You drive a SUV like SUV, you drive a Porsche like a Porsche, right? So I think that's part of it. Also, there seems to be a correlation between size and flexibility where the little guys are a little more flexible. So I think just both of those things cause inverted games, 50-50, Bambola type stuff to be much more active in the lighter weights.
That was cool. It was a fun match. Sean Roberts impressed me.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, he, of course, he started off really aggressively. Zach started off a little more classic jiu-jitsu, he was attacking, but he was more patient, almost slowly. Like a counter fighter, a little slower. Whereas Sean, man, he could immediately, I think it was 2 minutes in, he already went for the omoplata. He had loop chokes. He went for, leg locks. He just went for inverted arm bars. He was attacking hard that whole fight. So it was impressive. Yeah. The thing that I noticed though, the big difference I think in the match I noticed was that Sean seemed to stick to his strategy the whole time. Stay on my back and attack submissions. Attack submissions. Whereas Zach changed his strategy, right? So first he wanted guard, which is why they both ended up in that near 50-50 thing. Then he played 50-50. Then he went inverted. Then he got in guard briefly. Then he was on top and tried his passing game. And then he was back to his top game. So I think he kind of adapted and changed it up more while Sean chose to stick to his guns.
Absolutely. And I liked how Zach Maxwell went on top.
Yeah. And there was a nice run that he had from, I think, about the 15-minute mark where it was just him trying to finish the match, which was what we saw, and Sean being in danger. And Sean saying that, he was holding on for dear life, literally to his collar, and that he was like, you know what? I was holding on to that thing like a family member was dying.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a unique and cool way of saying that. Like, you could see it was like a nice moment when Zach is capitalizing on that. Was that the most surprising moment to you, or did you see that kind of happening? Like, did you feel it could happen at the 15-minute mark? Sean would start to gas out a little bit.
Well, I guess I didn't know what to expect, but when I saw it happening, I was like, okay, I see what's going to go on. It did take Zach about 15 minutes to pass, but you'll notice that he was able to get full mount just about 1 minute after that. And that's when he really turned it up and just started going to Ezekiel's and cross chokes and setting up arm bars. And, he really got, aggressive with it. And after that point, I think it started playing out. And I got to give it to both of them. They both went for it, The big thing, though, is I think they were both obviously exhausted because you can't go for 20 minutes in that active of a match in front of that large of a stage and not be tired. But even during the interviews, right? I mean, Sean admitted it. The death grip, he was tired. Zach had to have his hands on his knees during the interview. But the difference is that Zach didn't seem to show his fatigue in the match until it was over, right? But in the final few minutes, it was clear that Sean was pretty burnt out.
Yeah, I actually even thought Sean, and I think this is an interesting strategy that I guess we also kind of saw later, but it seemed like Sean was like, screw it, just go for it. Like those last 3 minutes, he was like, let's see if I can defend the shit out of this, because he looked like he was genuinely done attacking. Rightfully so. He deserved a break. But it really did look like he was like, mount me. Let's see. I mean, let's end this fucker. Like somebody's gonna win. And I thought that was ballsy too. I was impressed.
One thing that was really interesting at the post presser was you had both of the guys asked if it would have gone 5 minute more. Do you guys think that one of you would have finished it? And both of them just go, I don't know. As they're looking at each other, but it's such I think a respect to both of their styles that both of them, and people will answer honestly at a presser. They'll tell you half the time. Most people will say, as a fighter, yeah, I could have finished that. But both of them were like, you know what? Honestly, I don't know. Like they had nice, respective things to say about each other's games. And you do have to figure, does Sean get another win? Does Zach make a mistake when he's trying to close it out? So I thought that was interesting. For you, Amici, what do you think is next for these two young, fucking ridiculous dudes who are great at jiu-jitsu?
I think that this was having them first on the card is kind of like, having those young boxers on an undercard of a main event that are gonna, like Canelo when he was on undercards of bigger fighters. Like one day these guys are gonna be bigger. I mean, they've already have titles and have made waves and people know who they are, but I think it's just the beginning. Both these guys are 24 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
24 years old, and they're so hungry. They don't have some of the cockiness that some of the other guys that might have a few medals and titles and stuff have with them.
Sure.
They're confident, but exactly like you said, afterwards they both didn't say, "Yeah, I would have tapped him 5 more minutes." There wasn't that bravado. It was, I don't know. And I bet if next Metamoris they said, "Hey, let's have these guys fight again," they'd compete again. They'd go just as hard. And I don't know. I was really impressed with both these guys. I was happy.
And I liked that in the post presser they also said, because I asked them what it was like to go first on a crazy card like this.
Yeah.
What the hell? Like, what is that pressure to be that first match on a Metamoris card?
It's got to be difficult too, especially with Bravo crazy at the end of it. I agree. What was their response? That is a good question.
Sean said a little later, I'll backtrack in a second, but Sean said later that it was an honor just to be on the card, so he didn't give a shit. But both of them really liked going first. They like being able to set the tone for the evening because they're the ones who I think in a certain way they also were alluding to the fact that they also wanted to sit there and see the rest of the card because they're in such fans of everybody else. But it's funny because you're looking at these two guys who both are similar in more ways than people were crediting them as being, because everybody kept saying like, man, Zach's so traditional. Oh man, Sean, he's so like different than what Zach's bringing to the game. But like in certain ways, I think their styles actually really complemented each other. And even their philosophy of like, yeah, let's go first and fucking beat the shit out of this card.
I agree 100%. I think they were a lot alike, and they're both dynamic. They both are high energy. Neither of them wanted to stall. They both went for the attack. Both went for multiple attacks. Went for multiple positions. So even though maybe Zach is quote unquote traditional, he still was doing Berimbolo. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not a quote unquote traditional thing. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think it was excellent. I tell you what, the flexibility and leg work that Sean had to try and prevent the passes.
So true.
Like so good. Like the dexterity, because Zach's a good passer, so that says something that Sean was able to hold him off for so long. And man, I was really impressed by both of the guys. It was a great way to start off the event.
He just kept curving that foot over.
Yeah,
just curving it over from the half guard on the bottom. And it's like, God damn, does that work? That's all you have to do?
I will never know because my knees don't go that way, man.
Oh, good stuff. Michi, any final notes? We'll give you a final note moment on this fight.
I just say I'm just glad that Metamoris did. I mean, obviously you want to have the big names on the card, but I do think it's great to go ahead and give opportunities to people who aren't just homies, but also really can put on a good show and are, good for the sport and are going to have a future in the sport. So I'm just hats off to Metamoris for having these guys on the card.
Sweet. And what have you been up to? Tell us what's going on with BJJ Training Journal next. We saw your Dr. Jits thing.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's
It's
amazing.
great.
We love that.
If you haven't seen it, check out just YouTube, BJJ Training Journal. You can see the Dr. Jits. It's amazing.
Yeah, you can actually also search for Dr. Jits, is Dr.Jits. Pretty much the whole premise is I bring on a different Dr. Jits every episode, which is they give a diagnosis of like what's your problem, like with your hips aren't low enough, or you releasing a collar, whatever problem you have in jiu-jitsu, and then the prescription, they fix it. So the first one was me and my friend Brent Berniston, who's a Jean-Jacques Machado.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a solid dude. And he's showing a tip on how to pass a De La Riva guard, because De La Riva is popular, right? So a whole bunch of them were lined up. I got Nino Schembri is going to be on some of them. My friend Perry House going to be on them. Steve Magdaleno, Aaron Briley, John Awano. I mean, a lot of guys have really given their time to participate in this web series. And there's a couple other guys that might hopefully be on Dr. Jits coming up here. If I can, you guys have any ideas who the special guest might be?
I don't. That's weird. I don't know.
No one comes to mind that I know of.
Really?
No.
I need a white belt and a blue belt, actually. If you know anyone.
Let's see what he's doing.
Okay. I see
Well,
what's
anyways,
happening
people
here.
look out. I have a feeling we're going to have a couple more carries.
We'll let you know when we run into two of them.
Yeah, if I see
gonna be
any
really
blue belts
weird
training, I'll let
To
you
just
know.
call out at gyms, white and blue belt.
I need
please.
the pair. Yeah.
You need a pair.
Because it's not like they're the two most common belts.
Oh, yeah.
Either. No gym is equipped with a plethora of.
The terrible part about this is right now that we're going to have a
We gotta
plethora
work
of
on our
people.
cover.
Yes, we have a plethora of people who are going to try and take our spots that he's offering to us, Kevin. Like
I know.
they're gonna hear
We're
this and
being
be
dicks
like,
about
"You're
it. It's like,
idiots."
oh wait, we just be like, this is easy. You just laid out the 8 reasons I can replace you.
Amici has very nicely offered for Kevin and I to do one of these, and I believe I will be at some point. So you guys will get to see my amazing mess ups, and even better than my mess ups, me commentating about my mess ups, which is
I'm looking forward to that.
infinitely more funny than watching me compete, which by itself is funny.
Scotty Nelson actually was helped me out on one of them too. He was the Uki, the grappling dummy for Nino.
That's
Showing
awesome.
them. So yeah, so you have a good cast. You'll be among illustrious cast.
Me and Scotty, oh my, not even in the same sentence. I needed to delete that. But no, Amici, you're always so good to us. We want to make sure that people check out BJJ Training Journal. We can't thank you enough for coming on over to the podcast again and talking Metamoris with us. You always bring such great passion. I hope that things are going well for the site, and you always need to stay in touch with us because you're a good guy.
I love you guys. You're awesome. You give me a lot of support and fun to talk to. So I'll definitely see you guys again.
BJJ Training Journal. Thanks, Amici.
Right on, brother.
All right, so one of the great things about being a really respected and credible journalist, Kevin.
I wouldn't know, so
I know.
I assume you're talking about someone else.
I wouldn't either. I'm just. I've heard things.
You don't know, but maybe like a rumor. Or you were at Metamoris, so maybe like people talking in the restroom. Credible
Sure, I was kind of like that. Rafa Esparza, he's a credible journalist. Is that you get to have good friends in the BJJ community who are doing good things, and we here are never short on good friends, which is why we were able to call up our pal Monte Wiley to go ahead and talk with us about one of the matchups at Metamoris. We have him helping us out with covering the Samir and Gi fight. Please say a warm welcome to Monte. Monte, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're stoked you're on here. I was saying Monte, I think, is the coolest guest name that we've ever had on the podcast. I think Monte's up there. I like that name a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's the first time I think I've complimented a name as my first on-air thing. Monte, how do you know Monte, Raf? Where's this relationship? Some context.
Unfortunately, I was introduced to him via my BJJ podcast arch nemesis, Paul Moran.
Oh, yeah. I love Paul.
Yeah, nobody likes Paul. But
I like Paul.
oh
Yeah,
God,
everyone likes
spare
Paul.
me.
Paul's the nicest.
Paul's so fucking nice. He's a great guy. He knows jiu-jitsu. His podcast is only 8 hours long. Yeah, it's fine. But the cool thing about Monte is that like I've really respected his work. He writes really cool articles, and he put out a really cool article. If you guys haven't checked it out, we'll go ahead and link it on our site when we do the write up. But a really cool results recap of Metamoris. And speaking of which, Monte, if you wouldn't mind telling us, what was your expectations for this match?
Pretty much, I honestly expected the match to go a little bit longer, just because these two fighters, they've had, I would say, like about over like countless battles in the past where they pretty much been able to go 10 minutes long. Some going in, a lot of them going in Gi's favor, but they've been able to go like over 10 minutes long at like IBJF tournaments. So I expected it to go. I didn't expect it to end like in 6 minutes. That was totally surprising. I think it was the quickest. It actually was the quickest submission that day at Metamoris.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now, do you think it was because, and I guess I'm curious what your guys' interpretation is, it felt like Samir Chantry really shot after that inverted, it was sort of like a reverse mount or a reverse guard, which is, kind of giving up your back. But it looked like he went for the knee bar, and when he missed it, that was kind of it.
Yeah, it was because they ended like what I noticed when they first started off, he had ended up on the bottom, and then that scramble to sweep. That's how Samir ended up in that position. So once you end up in that position, it's kind of like a go or broke type of thing, and Samir kind of broke, and that's how he was able to pass his guard and go to his trademark baseball choke.
Boy, he set that thing up beautifully. It felt like
he was just waiting for it. He was just waiting for like the entire time, and he was just able just to keep forward the submission, and he executed beautifully.
What do you think was his modification? Like, what do you think was it that was telling him how to modify it and to actually close that? Because the first time you saw that you saw that Samir was defending it, and then there was a very quick modification where you go, shit, this is going to be over very quickly.
Well, it seemed like from when I was there and I saw it, it was that first grip that had it in. So as long as you keep that first grip in with any choke, whether it's a cross top choke from the mount or that baseball choke, you can just keep grinding and just keep circling around. And that's pretty much what Gi did during the whole fight.
One thing that I think that is a shame, because at the press conference I did ask him about the modification, and it's a shame that the press conference hasn't gone up yet, because in true Mendes Brothers fashion, he gave me the most comprehensive answer and looked like when I asked him, like, how did you modify that? He lit up like, I would like to tell you all about it. And okay. And like, it just totally made him super happy that somebody was interested in knowing how it adjusted. But it is cool because I think everybody can relate to that. Were you surprised in terms of, just how quickly it all went down too? But I think you alluded to the fact that it was very quick to see a difference in both speed and power and technique. Was that something that you were expecting? Was it the same result that you thought would be?
I expected it to be a fast-paced fight. I just it just seemed like Samir was just on the defensive the whole time, and just from like previous encounters I've seen him, he's been able to do a lot of stuff with Gi. But this time it was all Gi Mendes, and I guess another dynamic is I think Gi was probably more prepared for the format that Metamoris had as opposed to IBJJF, and even Samir has said himself like it was a great experience, but he could have done a lot better, he felt.
Yeah, he also, and this happens, it happens sometimes when you get to the mats that maybe you don't feel quite at your best. And in jiu-jitsu, like anything else, and that's just kind of Samir. Even from the look, he just didn't look like he was quite where he wanted to be physically. And as you've mentioned, I mean, we've seen Samir go 10 minutes with a lot of people, but I, again, was at least impressed that we saw him attack a submission. He attacked the knee bar, he missed on Gi, and that's kind of what happens when you miss.
Yeah, exactly. Go for broke, and unfortunately, I felt he could have at least done a lot more with the bottom with that, like let go of that, not go for the knee bar too much,
Mm-hmm.
and probably play like a bottom game more to keep getting more like advancing toward the guard pass. But when he did that knee bar, it was just that was it.
Man, and I do love the fact that afterwards, Samir and the presser was also saying, no excuses. He was prepared to have that kind of a match, and the training was there. It was just it didn't work, and I like that response from him. Dude is super chill, super cool. How do you think that match played in the overall scheme of Metamoris? Were you happy to see a submission like right off the back?
Honestly, I thought I was going to see a submission during the opening bout with Roberts and Maxwell. Because those two are really good with submissions. But I was totally surprised. I was totally surprised to see like a submission happen that quick. But I expected it to happen to either from one of those guys in that match.
Who do you think would have gotten the submission in the first round, or or in the first matchup between Sean and Zach? Did you have somebody beforehand closing that one out?
Well, a lot of people might not know Zach Maxwell, but I know Zach Maxwell since he was a pro. I've seen him come up, and I honestly thought Zach was gonna get that submission on Sean.
We actually had the chance to talk to Zach, and then seeing him fight, it was he's a killer. He was close. He was very close on a few of those with the armbar, especially.
Yep, especially when he got that mount, I was like, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah.
Though one big highlight, the Samir Chantry, I thought he had really gotten out of the baseball choke too, and this is also a compliment to Guy. Crazy hold to come back and get that baseball after Samir did the rollout. That was high level shit on display.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking myself. I was like, "Oh, he got it." I was like, "Oh, he's out."
Yeah.
Holy shit! The fight's about. Wait, no, hold on. He's still got the baseball. Raf, did he say it? Did he give any gems that would be usable in my own game at the press conference, or no?
What? I have to decipher the whole press conference because I think for as like quiet and humble as these two were, they were the most talkative. Second, of course, to Eddie.
Obviously.
But it was surprising just because they were so like their answers were so complete, and they were the jiu-jitsu answers that you would love to hear. So that's definitely something that was like really cool to be a part of and see and hear. Now, Monte, I have to ask this: you are going from yesterday's event to maybe the second biggest event in all of sports entertainment. What event would that be this week?
I know it's mine is WrestleMania, but what's the first event you're talking about?
Oh, so you would put WrestleMania over Metamoris?
Oh, man, I'm going to get in trouble with a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, but, yep.
I love the authority.
I'm going to get in trouble with jiu-jitsu guys, but yeah.
Can you explain why that is to you before the drones and masses come after us for that?
It's just that I've had a longer longevity with the WWE since 5 years old, so I got to put the veterans on top first.
That's fair. Now I have to ask this: what was the piece of advice I said for you to with any person wearing a championship belt?
Any person wearing a championship belt, be on guard 24/7.
Not just be on guard. You can attack them because if they are over the age of 18 and are proudly sporting a Kmart bought championship belt, you have the ability to take them on in a match.
Exactly. I just got to find a referee.
Oh, that's the beautiful part about wrestling fans. They will referee. Like someone will run in and count for you or ask for the submission. And here's the thing, and Kevin, this is the most disappointing part. This is the saddest part to me was I asked him if he had a finishing move, and he said he didn't. As a BJJ purple belt, you don't have a submission move that you can't transition.
You should have 7. You should have 7.
Yeah, because, I was thinking about that, and I've actually came over to submission. Probably, I would say my favorite from the side control guard stroke, because I'm submitting them and pinning them on the mat at the same time. So it's kind of like I'm doing double, making double the pain.
I've been thinking about it now. Yeah.
I love it. And, I'm going to expect a full report from that. So be sure to keep us up to date. And you also were one of the guys behind the Grapple-thon. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I started Gravel-thon over a year ago, and since that time, this one idea I had just to help my friend out, his family. My friend Russell Lynn had passed away over a year ago. That one small idea had just transferred over to just about 4 Gravel-thons now. And I'd say about 2 weeks ago, we just had a Gravel-thon for Metamoris, had 67 people. We raised about $2,500 for him in equal donations.
That's awesome.
And almost everyone walked away with a raffle gift. So it was a great event. I look forward to having more. And thanks to Dana for letting me have it, Optimistic just for letting me hold it, and Britain Weekly for helping me out for this one.
And I gotta say, I was really sad I wasn't able to attend it. But for you, can you describe what it is about the 300-person challenge?
Okay, the 300-person challenge is it's just another extra way to make money for the charity. So an anonymous person by the name of El Atnam, I can't reveal his actual name, had donated $300, and he said if the group of people can do over 300 rolls grand total or more, he'll donate $300.
Jesus.
So we had people sign up for saying they're going to do 30 rolls. Some did 20, some did over 30, and we end up going over. I think grand total we had was 325. And
that's amazing.
He was able to get the extra 300 for Dana.
Dude, that's really cool. I
love the Grapple-thon. I really do. I love that concept. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's been one of the funnest things in my whole jiu-jitsu journey. So,
well, I think the community responds really well to that sort of thing, and I hope you know that you have an open invite to come back and let us know however we can help spread the word about these Grapple-thons, because it's a good cause. We like that you're doing them, and we hope you continue doing them, quite frankly, man.
Sure, thank you, and hopefully you guys can make it down.
I'm probably closer, unless you get one out in Virginia for Kevin. But I will tell you this. I will make it down to one and be someone's crash test dummy to beat me up for the progressive amount of times that they are required to. But no, man, I love the concept, and I was really bummed I couldn't make it out. Every time you've hosted them, I have either a wedding or a Mexican family function.
Or both.
Believe me, dude. We drove by Laguna on our way down to San Diego for the wedding, and I looked at my girlfriend, I go, I could probably still sneak away. But yeah, man, well, you know what? We thank you so much. We hope you have a great time at WrestleMania. Dude, your analysis is so sweet, and your fucking write-up is legit and solid. We can't thank you enough for stopping by with us. We look forward to having you back on the podcast sometime very soon, man.
And thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed myself with you guys.
Thank you, Monte.
Okay, these aren't strangers. This isn't
Stranger Parade. Just bring on strangers on the podcast.
These are friends of the podcast, and the next folk that we are bringing on, good guy. I train with him, so you got to know he's good, right?
He's certainly in the middle, at least.
Exactly. If he's better than me is not really a statement that carries much weight, but he is. And I was fortunate enough to get to go catch the event with him, and I'm going to tell you this right now, Kevin. He asked the best question during the press conference.
No shit.
Yep, and we'll talk about
throw a verbal tap shirt on him real quick. That was just like, hey, claimed. Man.
I can tell you this right now. He is the proud recipient of a proud new verbal tap T-shirt. Please welcome to our podcast, Alex Perez. Alex, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Kevin, Raph.
Alex, you were close enough. You saw the event. Was it as much better in person as I think it was?
It was intense. I mean, for a second I thought a riot might break out right there. It was so awesome.
And you are here to help us review what I think is a rather interesting match, the Dean Lister versus Babalu. no gi.
That's right.
And
Oh yeah.
So,
Babalu was sponsored by Grips. Did anyone catch that? Did
I
anyone see what he
didn't.
was?
I wasn't sure
It was
because
blurry.
Yeah, he was
it was a little small.
from head to toe.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He should have just had it tattooed and completed the
Yeah.
whole outfit.
Alex, if I can ask real quick, what was your like preconceived notion about this match going into Metamoris?
Going into it, I mean, I was definitely heavy listener favorite. And from the get-go, I was like, yeah, there's no way this is going to go past, I say 10 minutes. That was going into it, that was my prediction.
I
Okay.
actually would completely agree with you. Even as the fight started, that's about what it looked like.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fight starts. How do you see it playing out in your brain? Like, what is your recollection of that fight?
Fight starts, Dean and Babalu, they play the stand-up game, but, Babalu's got great stand-up and, and good wrestling defense, especially, his MMA days. He was definitely a striker, more of a sprawl and brawl kind of guy, but great jiu-jitsu, don't get me wrong. But, first couple minutes, played the stand-up game, Dean kind of said, let's get the action started, and he sat on his butt. It's kind of like, all right, let's go.
Now, at this point, do you start to get a little nervous that we might be going the way of Shab?
You know what? I did. Especially, I thought Babalu was going to start shopping at first. I was like,
he looked like
man.
he might. He honestly looked like he might.
There was a split second that it looked very dangerous, but I knew once we got past that moment, I was like, this is already better than Metamoris 2, just in this one moment.
They're touching. They are touching.
Way better. They definitely weren't getting any boos, that's for sure.
Here's what you guys missed on the telecast. Or wait, could you hear Kenny Florian and Jeff Glover?
Think about that for a second, Kevin.
Could you? I'm genuinely asking. It's unclear if they were speaking out loud into the audience or not.
You would hear the commentary during a match. Are you thinking that through?
I honestly, Raph, I had thought about this. It's entirely possible that they had microphoned it to be also playing out. They were doing some weird back and forth production things where it was hard to tell if they were part of the audience or part of the telecast. Dead serious.
But Kevin, how would you feel if during one of your competition matches you just hear very quietly in the background?
Okay, sorry, Jeff Glover kept stopped talking. He kept shushing and going down and being like, "Oh, I better not say that too loud." So, to my defense, I'm justified here. But all Jeff Glover that's what I'm saying. They informed us that they had to be quiet multiple times because they were worried about giving something away.
Maybe that's for positioning of where they were near the mat. We can go into those things, Kevin.
I'm just saying, go fuck yourself with your condescending. Think about
No,
that.
I'm
It's
completely
it wasn't
justified.
me.
And more importantly, I love that in your brain they're like, did they silent disco you and give you headphones so that you could listen to the commentary?
That would have been awesome too. I didn't see any headphones in the area, but Jeff Glover was basically just talking about how good and old Dean Lister is. That was basically what he was talking about, and was going on over just probably the hardest guy to submit in the world, easily the hardest guy to submit in the world. But he had 2 or 3 things written down for each fight, and he really stuck to those notes.
So for you, Alex, when you're watching this and you see Dean Lister, the one thing I notice that I like to always say about him, not only is he the one who kind of pushes the match, but he dictates if he's bored or not and lets the audience know and has a great sense of playing with that. What was your perception about when you saw him kind of dictating the early part of the match?
At first, we kind of see, he right after he went for that heel hook, that Babalu was great at escaping. After that, it got a little stale, and you could see it. He wasn't trying to necessarily make it a quick show. I think he really wanted to give us a good, crazy match.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of takes 2 to tango, so he kind of started playing around. And I mean, there's a few times, man, where you could see him kind of look at the crowd, see him kind of give these little facial expressions that kind of got you laughing. And then even at some point, he was like, "Hey, man, here's my foot." Dangled it right in his face. Here it is. You want it. Come on. No.
Can you do me a favor? Do me a favor and say the best thing he said at the press conference.
Oh man, at the press conference, he's like, man, it's not like the old days, you know. I used to tell guys, please take my foot. Take my foot so I can leg lock this shit out of you. He's like, that only worked for about 2 years, then people got wise to it.
So, you know, Dean's putting on a good show for all of us. It's going, like, he reads the audience so well that he's more interested, I think, in giving you a great show rather than finishing early, which is what it looked like. But was there a moment, and did you get to ask him a little bit later about clarifying if he was just doing things intentionally, like giving up something?
You know what? He was saying that, you know, he was definitely playing around. He even joked at one point. At one point during the match, I was like, "Look at him, man! He's so confident. He's just giving us side control, like he's a monster."
Yeah.
Then later on, we're talking. He's like, "Actually, there's a funny part there. I was screwing around so much, I moved my hips at one point as he was simultaneously passing, and he got side control. I was like, oh shit, that's what I get." So I thought that was pretty funny. That, you know, he's like, "Oh well, all right, this is what I got now. Let's go."
So where are
You know,
we at on the scale of, like, is Dean Lister not submittable? Is it possible he's not?
You know what? I think he's definitely up there in the list of those. How do you tap that guy out? Just like Hoyler. Like, how do you tap that guy out? Like, how do you tap out Dean, man?
But Kev, we did a little talking post match where we're like, well, chokes are out, right? Because look at the man's neck.
It's attached to
They're
his
just
shoulder.
shoulders and chin. Shoulders, traps, chin. That's it, man.
I'm pretty sure when you try and like reach and start trying to set up a choke, you get choked out.
You get wrist locked.
Yeah, you get wrist locked. I don't know, but I thought it was so interesting to watch this game. Kevin, what was your takeaway from home when you were watching, especially toward the end when Babalu was mounting more of an offense?
It clearly felt like Dean Lister was in control in the sense that the fight was really going wherever he wanted it to. Mm-hmm. Babalu, I think, was doing a better job than we thought was possible at evading him, but otherwise, I don't know. It never felt like Babalu was really on the offensive. It just felt like Dean Lister was trying to engage him more and more. That was really it. I mean, good fight though. High action in the sense that it really did. This whole fight card, and especially this fight, it just seemed to embrace that idea that people really like those 2 to 3 minute high octane exchanges, and then they were perfectly fine taking a 20-second break. Like in the fight, they were just taking a break. And this fight especially, they would stop, they would high five, they would like stare at each other for like 10 to 15 and then re-engaged.
Yeah.
And I was
like
into it. I dug it. I thought it was great.
I started comparing a little bit of Dean's game to that of a master storyteller. Like, he just has a great sense of what makes a better and more complex build for a narrative. So he's just like, you know what? It'd be pretty cool if I got out of this side control.
What a beautiful way to say that. I would concur and agree, yes. And he did seem to put himself in progressively harder situations to escape.
Sure. And Alex, if you can clarify this for me, you know, towards the end, describe the celebration that Babalu had versus maybe the reaction from Dean at the end of the match.
Oh man, Babalu. I mean, he definitely looked like he accomplished something. Like, oh sweet, he survived. You know, Dean, I think was more worried about the crowd. I think that was his biggest focus was, you know, hey, you know what, hope you guys had a good show, you know, he didn't seem too disappointed. I think he knew what he was doing, you know. That was my take on it, as far as the celebration.
That and the obvious. Hey, did Babalu say anything at the press conference?
He wasn't there.
Not there at all. Just doesn't. No. Did they? Hold on, I'm going to answer my own question. But did they tell you why or that he wasn't coming?
What?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'll be here all night, folks. Just telling jokes.
And you know, okay. The weird thing is they actually paired up him and Keenan, I think, for what I like to call a power panel.
What is a
Dude,
power panel?
I think
entail?
Raph, you had one of the best questions when you asked, like, so what's it like being next door to, was it like a really good-looking guy like Dean Lister right there?
Oh man, I wish I could take credit for that, but you know who actually asked that one? Fucking Travis Nawaza, who in a full tuxedo, Kevin. I don't know if you saw photos.
Why was he in a tuxedo?
Oh, man, yeah.
Walked up to Keenan and was just chatting with him while we're in the middle of a press conference. And they're trying to figure out if somebody's going to come up with him. And they're like, all right, let's put Dean with him at the same time. And Travis is just talking in his ear. And because he looks like a fucking guy in a tux, no one's questioning him or even caring to like stop him because he looks like he could also be Keenan's butler, which by the way, if we can make that shit happen, let's make that happen.
Let's get
but
a
he asked
picture
that-
that says Keenan has a new butler. I can make that meme tonight.
That's awesome.
You know, and I think we kind of want to close out the conversation with just this last thing. And the one thing I did get to ask Dean in the press conference was how important is it to really fight like a little guy? He made this big point in the post press or the post moment interview with Kenny where he's saying, you know, it's really important to me to fight like a little guy. And we got to ask him to explain a little bit about that. Is that something that you see that he at least brings that excitement? Because the one thing I liked about this fight was that they were always pressing forward.
You know what? Only because of the movement that he brings into it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he's very well-rounded. I don't think he just fights like a big guy. Can he fight like a big guy and dominate? Totally. But does he like the movement? Does he like, push, keeping a good pace and kind of going, all right, let's go. Let's keep moving. Let's go. Why are you stopping? I don't like this, He definitely, where it's smart for him to play like that, he'll definitely play. He'll play like a little guy.
I think he plays like a gorilla.
Back in 2005 when he fought John Jacques, he definitely wasn't fighting like that.
Yeah. I told Alex on the ride home, I was like, he kind of reminds me his fighting style like a sleepy bear that you've woken up from hibernation.
But is super not excited about fighting.
But is like, do you have honey? Get away.
Yeah, you could definitely see the age in this one. I'm like, ooh, it's definitely not old school Dean Lister like he used to be. You saw him back when he was like tapping out Nate Marquardt in Abu Dhabi. That was like a Dean Lister that just
cared.
Not want to miss that guy.
Now, I'm going to close with this, Alex. What does this do for you in terms of where do you see these guys going next? What's next for Babalu? What do you feel is next for Dean? And keep in mind that Babalu in his post-press interview said he's really committed back to jiu-jitsu. So what do you think it means for both of them after this?
For Babalu, I definitely think it means he might start jumping back into the tournament circuit. I've definitely seen him at a few tournaments this last year. I think he did was it Masters Worlds he was at.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that's what it means for him. Kind of maybe even doing a lot more gi events. As far as Dean Lister goes, I mean, I'm sure he's still going to keep fighting as long as and grappling. He was talking even possibly MMA again. That he said that he said I'm still open to that. But personally, I got to ask him, because my dream fight was him and Paul Harris. And there was so much talk of that going on, but he said, you know what, that's the ball's in Paul Harris' court.
I mean, it
I'm
might
sorry?
not be, and I don't know if you went home to read this, but yesterday he wins his fight, Paul Harris, and has another questionable leg lock release.
No fucking way.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet. I can't discuss it from that level, but just seeing the headline where you read that, especially after we talked with Dean, I go, you know what? I don't think Dean gives a shit about any of that. I think he's crazy enough to be like, let's just fucking do it.
I saw the Paul. I just saw the end clip of it. I didn't think he held it on for I think the one in the UFC was definitely the one that was like, yeah, dude, come on, let it go already.
Sure.
The one last night, I think he was all right. He wasn't too bad.
Good.
I
I'm
mean,
glad.
He
for
wasn't
Paul
too
Hart.
bad. That'll be the T-shirt quotation he uses, Alex. Paul Hart's gonna contact you and be like, "Thanks for the positive press, man."
Right.
It's
And
the
you're
first
gonna
time
hear
in a
like,
while.
Like, because I'm a fan, man. I'm definitely a fan of these guys that finish.
yeah.
Like, yeah, like, do I want you to tear the guy's leg off? No, of course not. But I'm happy that you won. Like, way to go, man.
I love it. Alex, I gotta ask, who can we help shout out for you today?
You know what? Definitely want to shout out to all my team members at John Jock Machado's in Tarzana.
I've heard of that place.
Yeah, it's pretty well known to some circles. But no, yeah, definitely a big shout out to my instructor, my master, John Jock Machado, who was there doing his thing. All the guys at Valley Martial Arts Center, RAP, where I can go down to train with you guys too. You guys are all great. Big shout out to Submission Fight Co. Definitely putting out some great gis. Still one of my favorite gis. And to Travis Newaza from Newaza Apparel, just love his stuff and love his tuxedos that he rocks like a boss. If you guys watch Metamoris, you'll understand if you see him in the background what I'm talking about. And that's about it, man.
He's so crazy. Alex, I can't thank you enough for hooking it up and being such a good guy to co-host and do all this shit with yesterday. It was a true pleasure to get to experience Metamoris with you, and I will speak highly of it when years go on that we were like there when that fucking match happened. Oh, and hey, wait, I can't let you go without giving you credit. Kevin, he had the best question at the press conference.
What was that question, and to who?
I mean, it was an open-ended question, but I definitely wanted Hoyler to answer, and he did. I asked him, so how big of a factor were those pants that Eddie wore during the fight? And, I looked around. Everyone was like, oh, nice question. I'm like, that's right. Day one, sitting right here, asking the big question.
And I'll tell you this right now. When he's sitting next to me, and I look at him, and I go, you better ask that, or I'm going to steal it and make it seem as if I'm the smart guy in the room.
Oh, man. If I didn't get Raph's blessing on it, I definitely wouldn't have asked it. But when he was like, better ask that question, I'm like, all right.
And honestly, we'll bring that up a little bit in our review of the Eddie Hoyler match. But I just thought it was such a great moment in the press conference of a great question, and one that really made a difference in their match, I think one could say.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, Alex, I thank you so much for Oh, go ahead, man.
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, and Raph. I had a great time, man. We had a blast yesterday. I mean, definitely a jiu-jitsu fighter's dream event.
That's right, my man. All right, dude. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. We're going to go on to our next match, but thank you again, Alex Perez, the homie, the OG.
For sure, Raph. Kevin, thanks for having me, guys.
Great stop on the Stranger Parade. Thanks, Alex.
All right, guys.
Record on the podcast, and it was like, peace goes the journey, bitches. It's like, oh, that's... If you guys didn't want to go yet, you should have just told me. We're all ready. So
Okay. Good to note. So, Dean, Babalu, great match. The next match after a whatever intermission, and I don't know what people do. What do you do during intermission, Kevin?
great question, Raph. One of the things I did I can't say publicly because it's not legal, but one of the things I made some popcorn.
Okay.
Because
cool.
I had the munchies. It's just...
Well, I can guarantee you were nowhere near as high as I was, so that's fine. But on the other side, the next match we're actually talking about is Keenan Cornelius versus who was supposed to be Vinny Magalhaes, but that didn't happen.
Oh, Keenan's hot right now.
He's so hot right now. Turns out he got a new opponent, and I was tipped off from our friend Jaime Gonzalez from BJJ Rants, who we have on the line. Jaime, how are you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Not bad. By the way, we are so stoked to have you on the podcast. For those of you who don't know, Jaime is a big proponent of us, and as are we of him. But we've wanted to get you on the podcast for so long. So how you doing today, buddy?
Good, thanks. I really want to be on your podcast for a long time. Best time right now, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we can't pick a better time than talking
Fresh after
Metamoris.
Jiu-Jitsu Christmas. It's fresh
Right.
after it.
So tell us this. You were the one to tip me off. Where did you first read about Keenan Cornelius having a new opponent?
I first saw on Facebook, I believe it was I Love BJJ, saying Vinny's out. So I started looking online to see if that was true or not. So I tweeted you guys, say, hey, is Vinny even there?
Which, by the way, is the most embarrassing tweet I had to send from Metamoris yesterday, which was, I'm here, but I don't know.
I saw that tweet, and I
saw,
was
like,
amused by
Keenan
the
said
whole
what's
thing.
up to me, so he's here. So when you hear that Vinny is out, what's going through your mind?
It was like WrestleMania all over again, but with jiu-jitsu.
Why is that?
It reminds me of those bad, back in the days of the Attitude matches, where when Stone Cold would get hit with a chair and take an ambulance and go to the hospital. In the last 10 minutes of the show, you have Stone Cold coming with the ambulance through the ring and just beating them on like Shawn Michaels or Triple H. That kind of feeling was going to happen.
So you thought that Keenan Cornelius got a steel chair and took out Vinny? Okay.
That could have happened too. Like,
Honestly?
Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding kind of thing.
Yeah, Keenan
Honestly,
just screams "fuck your face" and ransacks him with like a barbed wire covered bat. That sounds awesome.
Now, the weird part to me is I can't confirm or deny any of this, but you know at the very beginning when they take that like beginning of class jog around the mat,
yes.
and I look up and I go, I don't see Vinny. Oh shit, it's true. Now, it's one thing to not acknowledge it through the telecast, and I get that. That's no problem. Like all of us who are watching live, we have no clue. Kevin, did you have a clue with the broadcast?
I had a clue because of Twitter, not because of the broadcast. The broadcast literally hit it until the last possible second. They acted like when Kevin K.O. Casey, well, in true WWE fashion, they just did it like a big reveal.
Exactly, and that was the weirdest thing because they have the band playing, which is the fucking
The
Coming
drummers.
to America band.
It was
Fucking
Casey
playing.
and the Sunshine Band minus Casey and the Sunshine. Just
So-
everybody else.
They walk out, and you just see this like big black dude walking out with authority, like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, it's true. It is Kevin K.O. Casey." So when you're seeing this, what do you think in terms of matchup? Do you think that stylistically it's interesting? Are you intrigued by it? Are you confused?
I was more confused than anything else. Keenan was more confused than anything. Coming out of it, like, the guy looks huge.
Yeah.
How much does he weigh, Kevin Casey?
Well, it's set
185,
on
according
the
to
stats,
the
it's 185.
statistics.
So-
There's no goddamn way. I got several likes when I tweeted out. P.S. No way Kevin K.O. Casey weighs 185 pounds right now. No chance.
No. It reminded me of the scene from Friday at the end with Tebow coming out.
Oh my god, that's the perfect analogy to that.
I'm like,
It's like that's exactly what was going through Keenan's mind too, I think. Like, I can't be sure, but I saw his face while he came out, and I think he was like, "Is that motherfucker from Friday? Who is that?"
All right, so now we're there. They kind of very oddly explain it, and then we have a match. So, can you walk us through the match? Like, what was your recollection of the beginning of the match, and how did you see it playing out?
what I remember was a net type clinch and Kevin Casey doing pretty much most of the fight, having really good foot sweeps and putting Keenan to the floor a lot. Remember, I think 3 times. Is that right?
Yeah. Were you surprised by any of that?
A little bit. For a guy that size, I would think he would just gorilla press off the stage. I've never seen personally any of Kevin Casey's MMA fights. So I'm not too sure more of is he a top player or a bottom guard player or just a striker.
I mean,
I was impressed.
on the Ultimate Fighter, he was known as the jiu-jitsu expert, and everybody we talked to from that season, who we're pretty good in with, really complimented, said he had the best jiu-jitsu in the house.
Tough
And
17 shout outs.
it's one of those things where when he is in the match, you do very quickly see Keenan realize what the game is. He realizes, all right, let's fucking discard this choice and go somewhere else. And Keenan told us he shot in the first time just to see what his guillotine would be like, because he's heard Kevin's got a really good guillotine, not fully committing to it. And that's why those weird, like, single legs looked a little odd. But when he really fully committed and realized he knew how to work around that guillotine, that's when he got in and shot in for that double. So that was really interesting to hear Keenan talk about it, because we had somebody asking about his game and he just walked by, and then, Keenan just goes, "Hey, I'll tell you." So it's a cool moment to see all of that. Now, when you're watching the match, what's playing through your mind? Like, do you feel that Kevin is in it? Like, are you surprised by him?
A little bit. He was more of a dark horse. The funny thing I saw on, I believe, Twitter and Facebook was Renato Laraja, with his little quick remark he always does, was, "Boha, Vinny Magalhaes looks so dark." So that kind of,
that's well played.
It was very surprising all what was going on. It was quite enjoyable because he had a good, from watching the Keenan fights, he did pretty well.
I was really impressed.
Play his games a lot either, Del Hiva.
I was genuinely shocked by how well Kevin K.O. Casey, I keep calling him that because that's his Twitter handle, Kevin Casey, for a grappling event to come in there and go against Keenan, I thought he survived shockingly well. That said, it did feel, and I'll pose this question to you two, you also felt like Keenan was basically in control from start to finish? Am I the only one that felt like he really seemed to be just letting him hang in there?
I would say 50-50. Mm-hmm. I think they were testing the waters a lot.
Mm-hmm. I thought at the very beginning when Keenan was gauging his power, it was a very quick understanding of his game. But I think that once he kind of got a sense of what he would do and knew what he wouldn't be going for, I don't know if you remember this, Kevin, but I vaguely remembered Kevin wearing a lot of knee braces on the show.
Yes.
And so when I saw Keenan attacking for the legs and the knee, I go, well, Kevin has a fight coming up in a month. So
and
I think Keenan
probably not
is
wildly interested in seeing how this goes.
Yeah, I think if he really sticks to this attack, Keenan knows he'll do it. But it was an interesting, like, just difference in size and technique. And for a while, it looked like it did kind of throw Keenan off, and rightfully so, because your game plan's out the window.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
Jaime, do you feel like we saw anything from Keenan we didn't know he was capable of in this match?
Not really. He was pretty solid. Yeah. I've never seen him get healed like that before.
I would say that's exactly how I felt. It was like, yeah, that looks exactly like what I thought Keenan would look like against a high-level traditional grappler. Just very dangerous. Kevin Casey was playing defense from start to finish. Never really looked like Keenan was in any danger. No. I liked the no-gi part, though. Again, these fighters seem to embrace that people really like those quick, thick exchanges followed by like almost a 20-second break on the mats.
Yes, no. So Keenan in the post press conference basically said he's still open to fight Vinny. He was very complimentary of him, said that Vinny actually let him know as early as Tuesday that he had a staph infection and that he still wanted to try and compete if he could. And Keenan said, yeah, that's fine. So they went all the way up to day of event, and 2 hours before, you see that Vinny reveals underneath his arm, like under his armpit kind of area, there was just this giant growth that Keenan described as big as a baseball.
Oh.
And the way that they described it out on the floor when the announcer said, He has a severe case of staph.
The
And I
announcer
go-
probably said it like this. Vinny
Well, I
has
didn't wanna
severe,
do that to people's
severe
ears. I think that's
staph
unnecessary,
infection.
Kevin. So people know how he talks, Kevin. Thank you for filling in the blanks. But when he did that and he said severe, and I was like, well, shit. I was going to say if it was just severe, he might have fought. But severe, as we all know, is terrible. And that's when they basically did it. So it was like 2 hours before the fight that all of that really transpired.
Huh. That's incredible. I just can't imagine being okay to roll staff and you have all these other people rolling on the same mat.
Yes,
It would
and
be
that's
really
also
pissed
a
off.
terrible choice. And the weird part is at the end of all of that, Keenan did make one kind of plead, which was, yeah, I'll fight him again, but, I'd really like to try and fight in the gi because I like the gi. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way to leave that part of that conversation. So having said all of that, Jaime, what's next for Keenan, do you feel?
Next is focusing on heavier opponents. He'll be moving up in the heavyweight division, I believe.
Yep.
So that'll probably help him out in the absolute, especially since the Pan Am can get a close fight with Alexander Trans from Alliance. So I think his goal is to become the first or the third American to win the Mundials, but to be the first American to win a Mundial Absolute Championship. Which is a pretty big goals.
No
And
shit.
would you still be interested in seeing him versus Vinny? And if so, would you be interested in seeing it in the gi?
I would be. I think we counted out Vinny a little bit. I believe 2 to 3 years ago, Vinny actually heel hooked Buchecha in the Ultimate Absolute in New York. So that was a big surprise, too. So if anyone could possibly surprise Keenan, maybe Vinny.
Interesting.
I
like
agree.
that prediction.
I'm with you on this wholesale, by the way. I think that's very astute. I think Vinny's dangerous.
Mm-hmm. He's not, I would say, underdog, but people discredit him. Look at the Abu Dhabi in, I believe, 2009 versus Lisa Verdum. He escaped that armbar and, ended up winning the finals in that division.
Yep. Well, sweet. What was your best takeaway from this particular match?
Metamoris tried to give us a full card and an entertaining card. So everyone wanted to see Keenan. I'm pretty sure last promotion to Keenan was still a brown belt. He was supposed to fight Victor Estima, but he had to pull out because of a knee problem. So that was a huge draw for this card too with Keenan Cornelius. So people got to see Keenan.
Sweet. All right, my man. Is there any thing that we can help you shout out today before we get you on out of here?
Just, go ahead and check out my website, bjrants.com.
People should. It's
much
amazing. It's good stuff.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It's just, a little thing I do on the side, away from training and away from work, just to spread out jiu-jitsu and help people learn about jiu-jitsu.
Well, Jaime, we
But that's pretty much it.
appreciate you being on the podcast as part of our, Raph's Metamoris Stranger Parade. It's been
Thanks, I
always
really appreciate it.
fun.
Hopefully we can do something in the future, maybe a Mundials or a five grappling thing in the future.
Oh, that's not a problem. And you know what?
We'll be talking to Jaime again.
We'll find an excuse to run into each other and do some nonsense because honestly, if you're looking for really cool analysis of BJJ for both, the avid fan and somebody who's trying to learn more, you need to go to your site. So bjrants.com. It's good stuff. Thank you so much, Jaime. We can't thank you enough, my man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, so this next match was a little hard to figure out who we could get to cover it because
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
We're in a fucking tight position here.
To be very clear, you have one guy named Hoffa, so stress on me, right?
That's huge stress.
Then you've got Clark Gracie, and you can't have just any commoner talk about the beauty that is Clark Gracie's.
No.
So we had to get the best looking person that we know to commentate on it, which is BJJ Breakdown's John Evans, returning to the podcast again today.
It's not Kevin? What just happened?
Dude, don't even think I didn't notice it's not me. But he's right. We need someone that brings like I mean, I'm obviously the better looking guy, John, but we're talking about like while rolling. You keep your composure in a very statuesque way, and that's a skill.
Yeah.
And we needed someone who was a 10 on that Richter scale of not just composure, but composure during competitive jiu-jitsu.
Kev, real quick.
You're the only one.
Out of the three of us, who would take the best Clark Oplata photo? Go.
Oh, John Evans.
There
Without
we go.
question.
Done.
Without question. Come on.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely a skill I've worked at over the years.
It's like you find the light.
I
It's
know.
embarrassing. So
Yeah.
that's why you're here. It has nothing to do with your credentials or
No.
the fact that you run a website called BJJ Breakdown. And you can be found breaking down fights in a very instructive way all over bjjbreakdown.com or YouTube. It's not because of any of that.
Definitely not. No.
Purely about the Baywatch factor, John. What was your level of expectation for this fight? What were you expecting?
For me, I was going into it. I'm not a betting man, but if I were,
We know.
I had to put my money on one of the two. I would have put my money on Rafa Mendez, and I think a lot of other people probably would have as well.
Not me.
Raph he is a betting man, so
I am, but I love that you're saying it like
In the
like
nicest
exactly
way
the
possible.
you're saying. Well, I'm not a betting man. I have played a game of Parcheesi once.
There was once I got tricked into a dice game. I thought it was for charity. I was sorely mistaken. But other than that, no betting.
it's true, gents. It's true. I really like the cut of your jib. And
Okay.
yeah,
So
no,
you
but
thought-
definitely, I think Hopple was the favorite going into this, despite the rather considerable weight disadvantage that he was going into the fight with. I think Clark fights at least middleweight, so that's 181 in the gi, and Hoffa fights at feather, I think, which is 155 or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's a big weight difference.
It is. It genuinely is. How impressed were you with the speed of the Baron Bolo attack?
You know what? Very impressed. It was ridiculously quick, and the first 5 minutes was just him kind of dancing all around underneath Clark, and he was just attacking. I thought it was going to be over in the first 5 minutes, honestly, when I first started watching it. But then something even more impressive really stood out to me, and that was Clark's Berimbolo defense. In fact, I'd never seen anyone stave off a back take like that, especially from Rafa Mendez, when he got that far into it.
And in true Clark form, never even really looked nervous.
He didn't. It was a little disturbing, honestly. It made me.
So you admit
I was
it,
really
John.
worried.
It's disturbing when your opponent looks remarkably calm during a fight. I just want you to remember that. The eyes in the beholder.
It is. He looked like, at the end, too, you could tell Hoffa was worked up a huge sweat, and he was like really actively trying to finish, but Clark looked.
And then afterwards,
looked
Clark had a
relatively
photo
calm.
shoot that he went to go do.
For
Well,
Adidas.
yeah, of course.
He was like, Clark literally finished the match, gets back up, and just like turns his head, and they've already got a light on him. It was a great. You missed it. I wish you could have been there to see the photo shoot. It was quite impressive.
Just kind of like
Yeah, it was
Ryan
for Body
King
Glove,
did.
right?
I don't like that John
Yeah.
Evans has become the funniest person on the podcast.
No, I've been upset about it for a while.
It's pretty
But-
annoying
You're the one that keeps inviting him back.
because he could hurt me. This is terrible. John, here's the thing. So when you're watching this, was that the biggest surprise? Was it his defense, or was there anything maybe strategy-wise? Because I had some people who were actually, and get this, they were displeased that Hoffa couldn't finish Clark. Where did you fall in those categories?
I wasn't displeased. I mean, Hoffa was really going for it. Hoffa, a couple of different things. Hoffa's known for having ridiculous conditioning. The guy just doesn't get tired. He's a machine. Even against bigger guys, he looks incredible always. But he looked a little bit tired, at least by midway through the match against Clark, which I was surprised at. I was also, I wasn't upset that he couldn't finish Clark. He was really trying. He was trying very hard. He really wanted that finish, especially his brother spoiler alert, his brother had already finished his fight against Samir Chantry earlier on, so
well,
I'm sure the pressure was on.
It's not a spoiler for the following reasons, John. The fights happened a few days ago. So people probably already saw them, and we've already talked about that fight.
Kevin, have you thought about the fact that he was saying it facetiously?
Was he? No, Wait, John, do you use sarcasm now?
I don't use that now, okay. But I was thinking about it maybe in the future.
Okay. I still feel that's being facetious again. Good job, John. Here's the thing that we were interested in too is it was cool to see Hoffa in control so much, but this is a major question for us. Do you think that Hoffa and Guy would have defeated Clark and Samir in a tag team jiu-jitsu match?
Are you going to put up turnbuckles, or is it a cage match? Or what are you talking here?
First of all, John, now I'm not liking the facetiousness as much, but here was the plan. I don't even know why I'm giving you a real answer, but we've thought about it.
Okay,
we were going to do like the Zach Morris timeout, so each team gets like 4. That way they can stop it at any given position, and then, as long as Hoyler's not involved, you just go into the exact position that your partner was in. Or we go to the photo replay, which has got to be the first time that's ever happened in jiu-jitsu history, by the way.
Yeah, it totally is. That is honestly the best thing that ever happened, though. Seriously, stop bitching about this position and this grip. Just look at a picture of it and then shut your mouth.
That was great. And they did it real quick.
Take a moment to thank the crowd for yelling out replay.
Did they?
They did, and I think they willed it. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if
you could hear it.
Instant replay, or if it was just replay, because I'm so fucking contact high out of my fucking mind.
It was replay. It was
replay. Okay.
You could hear people yelling, "Go to the camera!" But on the broadcast, we already had. We had actually already they had showed us in slow mo, and everyone was like, what's Hoyler doing? It's just Hoyler, you weren't in the cradle. You weren't on top.
Right.
What are you thinking right now?
But John, the important thing to note is Clark, Samir were both on our podcasts and made it very clear they were prepared and had been training for that. So I'm saying to you, don't tell us we're crazy when they're the ones who told us about it.
Yeah, I mean...
you like that format, too. Time out and then just switch people? That's cool, right?
Yeah, that would be... I'm sure that they would... if they, if they're prepared...
Not really. No.
You could do it maybe like a blood sport type thing, where they do it in a half-empty pool or something, too.
Ooh.
That would be... Yeah, because then you never know. Is it going to go to the taller guys because they can move around better, or maybe the little guys have adapted to the water?
Think about how much fun that would be for BJJ Breakdown, though. It's and Clark Gracie has called one of his 4 Zach Morris timeouts. They are switching out with Shamir into the bottom half guard position, and they are resuming fighting. Here we go. That would be fucking awesome.
It would be, yeah, definitely.
You can use that. So, who do you think's going to win?
So what?
Which team? Do you like the Mendez brothers, or do you like the Gracie Chantry?
Ooh, man.
GC attackers.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna give it. I gotta go with Mendez brothers on that because they've already got a team thing going on, and who knows how much Clark's trained with Samir. So
We do.
it could be, yeah.
I'd like to stop John right now and point out to Kevin, this is the first time we have ever seen or heard John Evans thrown off his game.
I thought you were going to say the first time we'd ever heard him answer a question.
How dare you? But I like that we had tricked John under the guise of like, yeah, come talk about this match.
We're going to talk about this
for the
match.
second half of talking about it. We're going to give you a hypothetical tag team. You know, no big. Expert strategist John Evans. Figure that out.
Yeah, no, I've been studying up on it, so I came prepared.
So, John, what do you think in the grand scheme of things that match did for Metamoris? Were you pleased? Did you want to see more out of it? Where did you fall?
Well, the whole thing about that match is I enjoyed it. I thought it was technical. It was interesting. Like, Clark Gracie had some really interesting stops to the Barambolo. Some of them were not even stops. They were just like Hoffa said in the post fight. He wouldn't let Hoffa get the seatbelt grip around him. So it's not even, he'd let him get all the way to the back. He just wouldn't let him take the back by getting that seatbelt grip. Another one of the stops was just to simply stiff arm the gi away. Like, it was just interesting. And his other one, the leg that he was getting baramboloed on, he switched the opposite leg underneath, which I've actually never seen before. And he stopped the barambolo, I think, twice that way. It was really interesting. So I thought it was technical and fun to watch, but with all this controversy about the double guard pull in jiu-jitsu, like, I don't mind that personally, but people, for whatever reason, seem to really, really hate it. And that's all that this was, because, I mean, it makes perfect sense, though, because Clark Gracie, if you're bigger and stronger than someone, just like when Jacare fought Marcelo Garcia, he jumped for a closed guard so you can control them with your legs. It's a good strategy if you're bigger than them and they're super fast and technical. On the other hand, Hoffa didn't want to get up and try to pass Clark Gracie's guard because he knows Clark Gracie has a fantastic guard, same thing. But Clark Gracie also favored his guard as well, so they both just sat to guard, and it could be really boring for people that don't understand that whole thing. But it was really technical, like the way that they moved their legs to either have the De La Hiva or kind of the footlock single leg X position, and the battle of the grips in there and the spinning upside down and what they did to defend. I thought it was entertaining, but I think the casual fan is not going to like that fight. So I'm not exactly sure.
And let me ask you this. Do you feel like this was the one fight, though? Because it seemed like all the other fights were kind of taking little breaks where they would kind of like acknowledge each other, almost like you do in a roll, like, hey, nice escape, and then they'd re-engage. Did not feel like that happened one time. It felt like genuinely both of these guys were going 100% for each of the 20-minute seconds.
Oh, absolutely. Hoffa wanted to murder Clark.
Yeah,
and
so
Clark,
you feel similarly.
was
like
fighting for his life to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, and Clark honestly seemed like he had control.
He did.
John,
I was surprised.
Our final question, who do you think won the fight?
Definitely you have to look at with any type of competition like that, if you're not really sure who won and there's no points or anything like that, and it goes to a draw because there was no submission, it's submission only, then you just have to look at who was attacking more, who was defending more. And for that, it was 100% Hoffa. I mean, Clark went for a couple of footlocks here and there, but they weren't really like that. They weren't that threatening. But Hoffa nearly had his back a bunch of times, and Clark was it was more amazing that Clark was able to keep him off his back, but keeping someone off of you is not really doing anything to progress your position in the fight. So
it's not
definitely have to give it to Hoffa on that one.
Hard to disagree with. BJJBreakdown.com's own and Raf's instructor, John Evans. John, you also were just on Joey Diaz's podcast talking about these fights. You were talking about the Bravo Gracie fight, correct?
Yeah, just earlier today. That was a hoot. That guy, I love Joey. He's always a always a fun person to be around. So yeah, it was a good time.
Two-timing hussy. Double podcasting on one. Nah, it's okay. No, any person that you're going to do another podcast for, obviously we love Joey. And if you guys haven't listened to it, go listen. Jevons does his whole breakdown. And the thing I'm really
Church
excited
of what's
to
happening
hear,
now is what it's called.
the thing I am excited to hear, because I haven't heard this part yet, but I am excited to hear your breakdown of Hoyler and Eddie, which we're about to do. But I'm sure it's spectacular.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I hope you guys will like it. It's we went into a lot of details about it, but it was a good conversation, and I mean, all in all, just the takeaway is that Metamoris 3 was better than 2, I thought, as far as the entertainment value goes, and they made a lot of progress with this one with the commentators and the way that they streamed it and everything. So hopefully this will be something that catches on for the casual fan as well. But
and I got to ask, John, before we do get you out of here, what do you think is maybe next for Metamoris? What do you see happening at Metamoris 4, if it does happen? But let's assume it is.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's the whole tournament format is really there needs to be a better way. So far, the only good way to run a tournament right now that I can see is submission only, which is what they do, but then they put a time limit on it, and that kind of kills everything. Of course, if you put a 20-minute time limit on it, you're much more likely to have submissions. And if you put a 30-minute time limit on it, for whatever reason, a lot of submission-only fights seem to end, if they go that far, they generally end by 30 minutes. But then there's always those couple of fights that may go an hour and a half, and you just can't have that in a tournament format. People they have lives and they need to be places, so that doesn't really work. So somebody's got to figure out a way to make the proper format, and maybe they'll have a different way to do that for the next Metamoris. But as far as matchmaking goes, I don't know. The only thing I could think of would be Hoyt Gracie and Eddie Bravo or something.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people on the internet are saying right now. But
it's all the rage today. Everybody
people on the internet, they're always right. Ladies and gentlemen, BJJBreakdown.com is the website. Check it out. Follow him on Twitter. Subscribe to him on YouTube. BJJ Breakdown is a really fantastic way. I genuinely love the videos. I'll stare at them, and it helps to have an experienced instructor guiding you through some of the complexities of very technical jiu-jitsu. John, we appreciate you bringing your good looks onto the podcast to talk about photogenic matches. And the intricacies
I've got a face for radio, so that works out.
Perfect. Verbal Tap, one of our favorites, John Evans.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Record now. You can start whenever.
Okay, so we know what's happened. There are 5 matches that have gone on, right?
Yeah, and they were fine. They were great.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Good matches.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then the anticipation is starting to set in. What's going through your mind when we're about to see the match we were never supposed to see again?
I'm kind of waiting on the commentary to cancel it because I was too excited. I was stoked. I saw both Eddie and Hoyler run out on the mats in as you've called it, their pre-gym warm-up lap. And I was just, I was on pins and needles. I was really excited. Mm-hmm. I was really excited. And rightfully so.
So, and I'll tell you, in my seat, I'm now I've been, air conditioning's not bad. You're basically in a tent. But now I can feel myself starting to sweat. I'm actually, my adrenaline's kicking in. I'm wondering what the fuck's going to happen. So we thought for this fight, it would be really cool to bring in somebody who actually trained with Eddie Bravo. We're bringing our good friend. That is right.
There's no way we found someone that actually... Eric Medina that trained with Eddie Bravo for this fight.
That's right. Who
Hey,
also,
what's going on, guys?
not much, my man. Good to see you tonight. And also had his own set of predictions that he was putting in for this particular fight. Eric, do you mind telling us what you were predicting for this fight?
Well, I kind of we talked about it right before the match. I was like, they're both gonna pull guard. Eddie will come on top or secure his position, the guard position. Pull that lockdown, and then that'll be about 5 minutes of the match right there. And I thought, they would exchange position back and forth, but at some point the match would end with either calf slicer or the twister transition or anything from the truck, really. And man, it almost happened with the calf slicer at the end.
Now, was part of your prediction based off of rolling with him, or was that just something that you came up with before you even had the chance to start training with Eddie?
Oh yeah. I mean that just came from training with him daily and how our roles would go and what positions that he was really intense on holding, where he felt strongest. Pretty much like his game, his A game, where he likes to take the match. And he was really able to utilize that and implement his game plan.
How much time did you spend in that top half guard position trying to keep his shoulder blades on the mat while he was working underneath you?
Yeah, so that's actually, we spent quite a few hours there. Hoyler was really intent on that knee slide, and that's one of the options you have there. So hours upon hours of me being in that position, knee sliding both ways, trying to get out. What ends up happening though is Eddie has a really, really good control there. His 3/4 guard is really good. If you go too crazy with the knee slide, you end up hurting yourself because you're going against all his controls. It's he actually, quite a few training partners in this camp have gotten hurt just from being there, trying to get out. You have to kind of wait until he opens up, wait until something else happens. Now, what Hoyler also did too is he kind of repositioned himself and started attacking the neck. And as soon as he started doing that, I kind of breathed a little bit of sigh of relief because we've gone down this road before. Like Eddie's okay there. When he almost baits himself into a bad position there, he'll let you get two hands across his neck, i.e. like a Doris or maybe an anaconda, and then that's when he'll sweep you. And Hoyler almost took the bait a few times, but those were always positions that he was strong in, that things were going his way.
Now, before we get too much into the match in itself, I do want to ask, right before the match was about to happen, you and I had talked, and you had mentioned that you were more nervous for Eddie than you are when you compete yourself. Why was that?
Yeah, the training camp was pretty long. It was almost 3 months long, and throughout that time, I've competed through that time. So I got my nerves out, I got my jitters out. I compete fairly often. Eddie, we don't have a lot of competition footage. We don't really know how he acts before competition. If he likes to be alone, if he likes to be, certain people around him. So it was kind of cool to see him go into the zone. But at the same time, you don't really know what he's got in his repertoire, how he likes to start the match. Is he need to get a pull guard? Is he going to play takedowns a little bit? So I was just really nervous for him because, knowing a little bit of what he's got in his arsenal, how is it going to play out? Is he going to stick to the game plan? Are nerves going to get to him? That was a very, everybody's talking about how huge it was. It was really one of the biggest matches in history. Everything from the crowd to the venue, it was all top notch. It was all amazing.
And how much I'm genuinely curious. Do you feel like the crowd helped inspire Eddie to hit a different gear, or do you feel like what we saw on stage is exactly what you see sort of when you're rolling with him? Because in competition jiu-jitsu, you really hear this. You hear some guys kind of just shine when the spotlight's on. Some guys kind of do exactly what they do, and then others kind of don't rise to the occasion. How do you feel Eddie reflected? Which pool do you feel like he belonged to after watching him?
I think the Metamoris format really benefited him. I don't know if you saw the Metamoris promo where Jean-Jacques talked about like Eddie as a student growing up, how he, how Eddie always went for submissions. He was never really a point fighter, and Eddie kind of lets himself get into very bad positions where points would be scored, but like that's when he's dangerous. When you mount Eddie, like he's gonna whip that leg over, come up, and he's gonna leg lock you or heel hook you. Like it's a very dangerous position, like to be mounted with him. Sometimes like when you're in side control and you're working, and his flexibility is crazy. He has these. He's able to create space. He's able to weave a leg in to put a butterfly hook in and start to elevate and implement his game. You can't really do all that. You can't really in like an IBJJF style tournament. You've already been down so many points, but the Metamoris, like, it's okay for him to be in a bad position. It's okay for him to to get smashed on a little bit because he's working. He's constantly trying to get underneath his opponent and work his game plan a little bit.
Absolutely.
And in the training itself, he was in bad positions every single day. We brought in a bunch of tough guys, and every day, okay, we're gonna start. The whole training session will be knee on belly today, or the whole training session will be on, his 3/4 guard, or escape from mount, escape from back control. The whole an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, so those weak positions became his strong positions.
I have to ask, what were you most impressed with Hoyler's game, having trained with Eddie and watching it as a spectator who both knows Eddie's game a little bit and also not knowing what Hoyler would be bringing back to the table after all these years?
Hoyler had incredible pressure and positioning. Once he was there with that knee slice, he was never in too much danger. At one point, he almost smashed through and got mount for a few seconds, and he recovered. But he was intent on maintaining his position, on having a really good pressure, driving him down to the mat. And you could see it on Eddie's face, he was really uncomfortable. Even though he wasn't really in danger, he was getting. I talked to him afterward. He said Hoyler was way stronger than he ever thought he'd be. And Hoyler did look good. Nobody's not saying anything that Hoyler came out there chubby. No, he was jacked. Sure. He was so strong. We saw him afterwards in the backstage, and we were talking to him, and if
he was
if
chugging
ever,
a protein shake and doing a push-up. No, it's just Eric, you look weak.
He was fine. He was drinking water, and it looked like he was fresh. He was fresh. After a 10-minute break, he looked good. So both those guys, their conditioning was amazing. They're true athletes, and there's hope for us. When we get older, that they can still be rolling around.
Well, maybe for you, my friend, but
it's there's hope for you,
Speak
Eric.
For yourself.
I don't want to hear. I was trying way too much to have that ambition.
I was definitely trying to start a hashtag old man shoulder pressure. I'm not sure if that. Yeah, no shit, man. It was very interesting to see that match play out. My big question for you is, what do you think this match's legacy will be?
We were talking about it, the whole night and everything, and everybody wins that match. And that night, although there was no submission, that means Hoyler gets to go home and say hey, he didn't submit me this time. It's better this time. Hoyler's jiu-jitsu looked really good. Eddie was able to hit some really good sweeps, the electric chair, the vaporizer. He came very close with that calf slicer. It came down to the wire. Everybody was on their feet. That was a show. It couldn't play out any better. And so Eddie gets to go home to all his his school and his fans, and gets to raise his hand. Hoyler gets to raise his hand. Everybody was happy that night. Nobody said it was a BS decision or anybody was upset. And then I think that'll be the legacy. They shake hands, it's over, and everybody wins tonight.
Who do you think you would fare better against in a 20-minute submission only match, Eric?
Do I get Eddie with pants or no pants?
Uh-oh. He's saying it's a factor. That's what he's saying. Let's go Eddie with pants because it seems like that's very important to him.
I think Eddie's very deceptive. Like you'll think like I said, like you'll think you'll be doing good against him, and then out of nowhere, like he'll get you with something nasty. And like a lot of Eddie's submissions, like they're not. I mean, obviously, like submissions hurt, but like they hurt on the way to like you tapping. So like his calf crank, like by the time you're tapping, like it's already hurt too bad. Like same thing with like his chokes. His chokes are really mean. Like his back control is really mean. He's really wicked with a body triangle. Sometimes you'll just tap to that. Like the Hoyler looked great. The Hoyler's like traditional jiu-jitsu. Like I would actually like to roll around with Hoyler in the gi. Like I'm sure that would be awesome. But I wouldn't last more than like 2 minutes with either of those at full power.
All right, so he's saying neither, Raph.
Oh, God.
He's dodging the tough questions.
What a terrible
If I
competitor
were Bryant
he is.
Gumbel, I'd be pissed. I'd be writing a note to my production coordinator.
And I do have to ask this, for you, what did it feel like to be close on seeing the match play, just for your own interpretation as both a jiu-jitsu practitioner and a spectator of the event?
It was really cool. It was really awesome. Almost every seat in the house was like a good seat. The crowd was. I didn't know it was that evenly divided, but there was chance for like Eddie and Hoyler going like by the people next to me, and like sometimes they would just change their mind and did chant. Like it was like people were swaying their both. Like everybody wanted somebody to win there, but it was cool, man. It was awesome. It's just awesome to see this whole thing come to fruition. Like I'm a jiu-jitsu nerd. I bought the ticket as soon as it came out. I had no idea like I'd be training with Eddie or be part of this. Yeah, definitely. So I love how the people like the 2 nights before like, hey, does anybody have a ticket? Like, no, you got to get that months ago. But it was really cool. It was really special, especially to see what it takes to be a champion. Like what real like high level training is, and like getting to watch Eddie like day in, day out, like, train his butt off, go teach, go swim, do the media. Like it's a whole bunch of different tools and different jobs that you have to have under yourself, and that was really cool to see it.
And I would like to follow that up with, what would you say was the best takeaway or learning experience, both training with Eddie and just being a part of his experience in this whole massively crazy attention-filled match, all the way through?
I think, we always talk about, like, we always joke about, like, Eddie really, talked himself up, or this tournament or the event had like multiple time world champions, like the best of the best. The Mendes brothers were there, Keenan was there. But like the main event was, Eddie versus Hoyler, and it's crazy. Like they had a match, like everybody's on their feet. I think what I take away is that, like, maybe if you're not like the most successful competitor, like maybe you don't have to be an Abu Dhabi champion or a world champion. But man, like you put some stuff together, like people are gonna want to watch you, compete. People are gonna want to like listen to what you have to say, and that was really cool to see, because it's not all of us are gonna be world champions, but it doesn't mean that we're not all gonna go out there and try, and it doesn't mean that we can potentially like knock off a few, So I think that's a glory about jiu-jitsu. Like every day, like we're training with like high level guys, and who's to say like one day like it's not your time to catch them. So it was really cool. It was a wonderful experience, and really, really happy to be part of it, and got like awesome like takeaway from it.
And what can we expect in the sense of, this is what I'm going to ask. Do you think we will see Eddie fight again?
I think if he wanted to, it would be much easier for him now that he's got the mat rust off.
In shape. Absolutely.
He's in shape. He knows what it takes to win. I mean, and like he's confident in his abilities, and I think that's like the big thing, you know. Confidence is what wins you matches. In the last week of training camp, and he was a terror, man. He was tapping everybody and tapping everybody quick, and that made him gave him you could see like a little spark in his eyes, like he was ready, and I think he's going to carry that for a very, very long time. And he's got monsters that'll come help him. You know, like he's the man right now. And you know, if he wants to hop into like a little grappler's quest or like do something big, do another Metamoris, I think like he'll fare very well. You know,
well, hey, let them know if they're looking for attractive, mildly funny people at a lower rank to compete. I am all yours to beat up on, Eric. I just want to publicly state that before we start to move out. Eric, talk to us about. Yeah, if you're ever out in D.C., well, I'll obviously make you come roll where we are, and if I make it back to L.A., Raph, I'll have to have you choke me out a little bit. You have some sponsors that we would like to shout out.
Oh yeah, I'm always wearing Newaza apparel, rash guards, and cool stuff. Travis Newaza, also known as Farta Plata, takes really good care of me. Roll Dogs Kimonos is the brand of gi I wear, and then Ubatuba Acai in Tarzana. He's got the best acai. Awesome. So if you're ever in the valley, stop by there. They're really good. They'll take care of you. Yeah, but you know what a great night. What a great event. You know,
it was fantastic.
To the party in Hollywood after.
Of course you did.
Oh my gosh.
God. Was it awesome?
That was nuts.
Was it amazing?
I see Dean Wister, Jeff Glover, Eddie Bravo, and Con Gracie on the dance floor. It was nuts. It was really cool.
That sounds fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Medina, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you soon.
What a Stranger Parade podcast, Raph. My compliments to the 29 friends that we called.
6.
To break down the fights. 6 of them, whatever. Felt like 29. Maybe it's because John Evans was in there. This was like a heavier load than I'm...
Stop being jealous of John Evans. He is a stand-up gentleman, and he's never been mean to you.
It's not true. That is not true.
When was he mean to you?
When I was in LA and it was towards the rolling portion of the class.
Mm-hmm.
That was some mean rolling. That was not nice. That's not how you treat a friend.
That was your fault for trying.
I could have fooled me on the trying part. Hey, Metamoris 3 was amazing. You were there. You've given us some wonderful insight. But today, during jiu-jitsu, we've been recording this over a 2-day span. This evening, we were going over some of the prime moves, including the lockdown to the electric chair, and sort of talking about what Hoyler was doing with the slicer. So it was a really good summation to the Metamoris Pro for me to see. Nick and Rob were doing the instructing tonight, and they were just taking us right through it, and it was really cool.
That's awesome.
So I think it's that's what I loved about it. I thought it was a really good exhibition of jiu-jitsu, and I will certainly be watching Metamoris 4 and 5.
Let's hope they get on that very quickly, because I will say there was a great moment with Eddie where at the very end he's like, I don't get if you don't support this. How can you not support Metamoris and after all it's doing for the community? Like, this is it for jiu-jitsu right now.
It was trending on Twitter.
You know, it's cool and it's a unique event. I'll leave with this. I had a great time doing it. This is the second Metamoris I've gotten to attend, and I think it's such a cool event. And you know what's weird, Kev, is that we had the opportunity to report on the whole Hoist and Eddie thing. Like, we had the opportunity to talk about that on here, and we just decided not to. And I'll explain why. I'm sure in the future we may reference it. It may become a thing. But I think it's a shame that you have something like that overshadowing what was really such a great match and such a great win for both sides of the perspective spectrum. You've got Eddie, who's being able to say it the first time wasn't a fluke. You've got Hoyler, who's able to show, he's still got it, and that they combined put on this fucking great exhibit of jiu-jitsu. And it got marred by what at first kind of seemed a little bit like speculation and tabloid kind of shit. And you have the opportunity to talk about it. And the reason why we're actually even discussing it now is because at some point they confirmed it as news. Both Eddie and Hoist have talked about it. And I think the real reason why it bums me out more than any other thing, and I would caution most people to tread lightly when they are talking about this sort of thing and trying to bring up perspective differences as a main thing, is this. When you go to an event like this, you see how happy jiu-jitsu competitors are. And when I go to this, there is no other event like Metamoris where you see everybody who does jiu-jitsu passionate, excited, stoked to see this sort of thing happen. And when you get a main event like that, all of your confirmation and all the things that you think that are great about jiu-jitsu are just validated right in front of you. So when we had the opportunity to talk about this, I just thought it was so unique and weird to be focusing on whatever is, I guess, happening dramatically behind the scenes. And I just chose not to really talk about it because I'd rather focus on what it is great, because things like that carry over to gyms like yours, where the next day, instead of talking about all the bullshit that happened, you're drilling those things. So I think that's the bigger takeaway from the entire Metamoris card. I will now get off my high horse, but that's it. And I wish that whatever jiu-jitsu drama would just fucking end, and everybody would just enjoy what it was. And I will remember it as a great match and nothing else.
Completely with you. And that takes us to the beautiful summation of shout-outs. And as we transition to that, I would like to tell everyone out there, if you are a jiu-jitsu practitioner or an MMA practitioner, watch the videos. It's a really good, you're going to feel the strong desire to drill very soon. So check that out. Ref, let's thank our guests first.
Yes.
And there's, I've got the list.
Okay.
Amici Akbom from BJJ Training Journal.
The homie.
Big shout out there to talk with the Roberts Maxwell. Monte Wiley, here to talk Chantry Mendez. Thank you so much.
First time ever being on the show, nailing it.
Monte. Alex Perez, who was also with you that evening. He had had his tickets, got into some presser, did some great work.
So Alex has been such a great training partner, and it was a blast to get to cover it with him because, we got to discuss all the things that we like. We got to nerd out over a lot of the technique, and he actually brought a buddy with him that he gets to train with us for the ride. And the great thing about it is that guy, he was complaining about that he doesn't get to see all that often, but that he used to be the guy who would break down things at the end of his class. And that is exactly how Alex does his rolling. He does that sort of thing, and he's paying it forward. So kudos to both of those guys for being so cool. And to Alejandro, we appreciate your time, dude. That's really cool, and we hope you had a good time.
Absolutely. Here to help us with the Keenan Kevin Casey, Jaime Gonzalez from BJJRants.com. We'll have Jaime back. Don't worry, Jaime Fan
most
Club.
Definitely.
Jaime Fan Club at ease. Of course, the lovely and elegant John Evans helped us talk Gracie Mendez. And big thanks to Eric Medina, who trained with Eddie Bravo for this match, coming on to give us some insight and just kind of, he definitely saw those moves coming, which I like. That's another one of those, hey, drill it, people.
Train it. Beyond stoked to talk about his prediction and to see it come true when it happened there. And he just walked up to me and he's like, hey, what'd I tell you about all that stuff? And I was like, you're very right, my friend.
It's as though you had some sort of insider knowledge.
Right.
Hey, that takes us into our shout-outs. BJJ MMA Academy out there in Chantilly, VA. Of course, check out No Concept out in Maryland, and our friend Andrew over at BJJFinder.com, the world's premier jiu-jitsu school locator. Download the app. all you have to do is put your zip code in. It'll show you schools. You can review them. You can also go on BJJ Finder and see what schools that you might want to train with that maybe you're a little nervous about. Well, people have reviewed it for you, so they've already experienced it, and they'll let you know. That's going to do it for me, Raph. Pretty easy on the shout-outs. Thanks, Metamoris.
Yup. And I'm going to try and do mine in a minute. Time me.
Hold on, and go.
I'm going to go ahead and shout out Valley Martial Arts Center.
Mac.
You guys are always great. You're just top-notch instruction. All the guys over there, I hope that you had a great time watching Metamoris. It was really, really cool. Also, I want to shout out our great friend Pamela Moy. There's going to be a women's open mat. The SoCal Women's Open Mat is going down on April 6th. Next week, that is going to be 1 to 4 p.m. There's going to be some judo instruction. You can give the gift of a gi, and then you can also basically roll. I can't encourage you guys enough. Please look into it. It's at Valley Martial Arts Center. It's 11316 Burbank Boulevard, North Hollywood, California, 91601. Look into that. Please make sure that you're going there. Also, shout outs to everybody who I talked to at Metamoris. There are too many of you to name, but I'm going to try Travis Nawaza, Jeff Glover, etc., and the rest, and all the great fighters who were amazing. And I just want to say to Kevin, thank you for holding it down on your side. You did a great job uncovering the fights on your own Twitter, and I'm done. Boom.
Woo! Right at that was literally a minute. Like it was. You came in at 59 hard.
I know.
That's gonna do it for us here at Verbal Tap. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and good Metamoris.